Welcome to the Cancer Education Series tonight. My name's Alissa McKinney, and I'm the Executive Director for Above and Beyond Cancer. Tonight, I'm sitting in for Dr. Deming. I realize those are big shoes to fill, but I am going to try. And I am just honored that you're going to join us tonight for this impactful conversation with Cheryl Harding. Cheryl is she is a survivor. She has been a caregiver, and she is currently on the board, and I'm excited that she will next year be our new board chair. So welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you, Alissa. I'm really happy to be here with you tonight and with everybody else as well.
Great. Well, I'm gonna channel a little Dr. Deming right now and ask. Okay. I'm gonna ask you a few questions, like where you grew up, and so share where you grew up.
So I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. Mm-hmm. So I've lived about half my life in Ohio and half my life in Iowa.
And I always like when he asked, how many kids were in your graduating class?
About 700. I had a very big high school.
Wow. I graduated with 23, 25 if you count the 2 foreign exchange students.
A little different than my experience.
A little different. And what was your mascot?
The Vikings.
Oh, very good.
And I was on drill team and was a Valkyrie.
Oh. And what would you say were you most known for in high school?
I've heard Dr. Deming ask other people that, and I always think I don't know the answer to that. What I really enjoyed was my very close-knit group of friends, and I was on the drill team, which was fun, through football season and all. So, I don't know. Yeah,
very good.
Us girls didn't have as many options back then.
Well, true. I mean, but that's changed now.
Yes,
so that's
absolutely.
Good. And does your high school still exist?
Yes, it
good.
Does.
Okay. Very good. Yeah. Mine doesn't quite in the same way. So it's kind of sad. Well, tonight we just wanted to talk about just kind of your journey, how you ended up here with Above and Beyond. But do you want to kind of share what brought you to Iowa? And then we'll talk about your husband and that journey.
All right. So what brought me to Iowa was actually my job. I had a great job opportunity. And so we talked about it as a family and made a decision to move halfway across the country away from both of our families to start up here in Iowa. And, 30 years later, here I am.
You're still here. And you have 2 kids.
2 children. I have a daughter and a son who are the most precious things in my life, even though they're adult children now. And then I also have 3 beautiful grandchildren who might be the more precious now. Sorry, kids.
and one of those is a brand new grandbaby.
Yes,
that was just
about
born.
a 6-week-old granddaughter.
Yes, so sweet. That's so sweet. So, do you want to share just how you started going down the road of dealing with cancer in your life?
Yeah, so I lived a pretty lucky life up until 2013. I'm not sure I knew anybody or not any close relative that had cancer. And in 2013, when my husband was 53 years old, he had a little pain in his back, and he went to see his urologist because he had a history of kidney stones, and got a CT to see where the kidney stone was. And the CT came back with 20 plus tumors throughout his body. So after a biopsy, he was diagnosed with stage 4 neuroendocrine cancer, which is an extremely rare cancer. It does not have a lot of research because it's so rare. And it's not, most people have never even heard of it. So the other important thing is that there is no cure at all for anybody with that cancer. So from the point of diagnosis, we knew that his end would come way too soon in life. And that's a pretty stunning thing in a family. It affects everybody in the family. I always say cancer is a family disease because everybody is impacted by it.
Yeah.
So, but we, after a lot of tears at the beginning, we sort of adopted an attitude of hope and surviving and positivity. So I'm really pleased that we went through the whole journey with the best possible attitude we could through it. the average, there was not many studies. The most recent study at that time was already 10 years old. And the average survivorship time from diagnosis was 5 months.
Oh.
Now, when I say that, I would say, be careful what you Google. Only use trusted resources.
Right.
And remember that averages are just that, a
Right.
compilation of a whole bunch of different outcomes.
Mhm.
So we were really lucky because he got 19 months past the point of diagnosis. So our family had always really loved to travel. We had made a decision early in life that we were going to do nice vacations with our children as they grew up, and we had done that. And so one of the things we did was we sat down and made a bucket list of places my husband wanted to go.
Oh, I love
and
that.
prioritized it and started working down through the list with our friends and family while we went through the process of keeping our jobs and still managing our careers and going through the cancer treatment. Because what my husband's cancer treatment was quote, life extending chemo, end quote, which is a tough thing that doctors say to you.
Right.
But he fortunately did really well with the different chemo regimens. So we were able to fit trips in, and our oncologist was absolutely fabulous about working around sort of our wishes. And I think one of the other most important things through that was that the day of diagnosis, which is a day that, I'll never forget. And we were sitting in our family room, and my husband, through his tears, said that he only had 2 wishes, and one was to see my then engaged daughter walk down the aisle and see our son graduate from college. And 8 months after that, he walked my daughter down the aisle. And 10 months after that, he saw my son graduate from college.
Great.
And then 30 days after that, we said goodbye. But that hope and just having things to live for and look forward to, and just staying positive that you can make it to the things you want were such an important part of the cancer journey. So
and just how powerful that is for folks going through trying to set those goals and meet those goals.
The goals are so important.
Yeah. Well, now I'm shedding a tear. I'm a crier by nature, so I apologize.
I got through that without
you did really good.
Too many.
I did not. I had a friend. I worked in a hospital for many years, 18 years. And the head of Child Life once told me, you can never cry more than the family you're talking to. So I always try to hold that in my head. But I kind of failed right there. So
no, that's okay. My daughter is an oncology nurse.
Yes.
Inspired by her father's
I was
journey.
just going to ask that.
And she said the same thing to me.
I know. Sometimes it's hard. I have a lot of empathy. So, well, can you share some of those bucket lists that you did?
Sure. So let's see. We, excuse me. 2 weeks after our daughter's wedding, I planned a surprise trip to Paris. So he didn't know we were going. He just knew we were going on a trip. So we had vacation arranged. And I had gotten 2 of our very close couples friends. So the 6 of us went to Paris, and he didn't know where we were going until we did our connecting flight.
How fun
to get on the plane. And we had just a fabulous trip there. It was awesome. And we did a trip to New York City, and we're total tourists with my sister and brother-in-law. We did this is an interesting story. So right after my son's college graduation, we did a family trip. This was a huge bucket list item that we saved up for, but we did a Mediterranean cruise trip and did like private guides for places in Europe and stuff like that. And so we had a really awesome trip. And my husband did great. We hiked the goat trails in Cinque Terre when we were there. And on the last day of the trip is when the cancer took over my husband's body, and he actually started getting really ill. And his actual last full meal was in Italy.
Oh, really?
So he never really ate another meal after that. Just, I mean, we have so many trips in between. We did trips all over the US with friends, like long weekends or things like that. And just, so really had some great traveling.
What was one of the funniest things that happened as you guys were doing these bucket list things?
Oh,
Does anything stand out?
Trying to think, there were a lot of maybe not all appropriate to
share. Sure.
No.
Okay, that's fair. That's very fair.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, I mean, just different funny experiences. We kind of approached the cancer and the effects of cancer and the effects of chemo. We tried to approach it with humor. So, like, sometimes people will say weird things to you, like if you don't have a lot of hair or you used to, or things like that. And so we would just make jokes about it all the time. And so we were always, and we had this sort of family joke that you can't play the cancer card. Like you can't, you can't try to get sympathy because of the cancer thing or anything. So we'd always have, like, things would happen along the way and we'd say, gosh, we should have played the cancer card, but just jokingly.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
That's great. What was there anything on your list that you just didn't get to, or did you really do a pretty good job?
We did a pretty good job. The one thing we didn't get to, we actually had a trip planned for December of the year he passed, which was taking a cruise up the Rhine River at Christmas time. And
I've always wanted to do that.
For the Christmas markets in Europe and stuff. So we didn't get to do that. And then we had doing an Alaska trip to Alaska was high on the list. That was probably the next thing that we didn't get to. But I actually ended up going with friends.
I was
about
just
2 years later. Yeah.
To Alaska or the markets?
I did. I was supposed to go to the markets and ended up with a job conflict,
jobs.
And it was a little tough to go. So I think it was probably both things.
Okay.
But wasn't able to go. And then the idea of the Alaska trip came up. And so, I did that with a group of friends. So he was with me there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
awesome.
that is a lovely tribute. And now, I mean, I know now you spend time in Florida.
Yes.
You're a snowbird.
I'm a snowbird sometimes. Yes.
Which is fun. I'm sure that was probably a part of your plans as well, eventually. And you also have shared with me in the past that you had some really close friends, and your friend, the husband, came down with had the same cancer.
Yeah, it was actually the wife, but yes.
Oh, the wife.
So, no, that's okay.
I thought it was the husband. Okay.
Yeah. So we had a pretty rough couple years. My husband passed in June of 15, but before he had passed, one of our best friends, who also happens to be my daughter's in-laws, our children married each other.
Oh, that's cute.
She got diagnosed with the same rare cancer, which it's like a 1 in a million cancer, and they both got it. And we'd spent 20 years living a mile from each other, traveling. We did spring break vacations all through the kids growing up together and everything. And so then she had died in July of 16, the year later. And then another one of our friends had gotten diagnosed with a different cancer, and he passed in August of 17. And then 2 months after that, I got diagnosed with breast cancer.
Right. And so now we will transition from your caregiving and everything that you did. And I just really love that idea of making those lists and all the positive things and memories you created. So then you were diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yes. Mine's a very different story.
Yes.
I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Well, that seems fair.
Obviously. Yes. I'm here. But I went for my regular annual mammogram.
Important, yeah.
Yes. And there was a potential issue. And so I went back and had an ultrasound and a biopsy. And what I said to them was, well, of course it's cancer, because that seemed to be my trend at that point. But as my oncologist said to me, if you have to have cancer, you want what I had. Because I was very lucky. It was very early. I had a lumpectomy, did a week of brachytherapy, radiation, and have taken a medicine for 7 years, and that's it. I've been cancer-free for 7 years. I'll be done with medicine in a couple months. And have had no other issues at all. So I feel very fortunate. I'm very, very thankful for all the research and the medical advances that have been done on breast cancer. And my sort of public service announcement is to everybody listening that if you are eligible to get mammograms, get them every year, because it's a few minutes of discomfort for what will truly can be life-saving. So
agreed.
Definitely do it.
Especially as we highlight that during the month of October,
Yes.
It fits in with that same message of how important
Pink became my favorite color.
Yes, I've always liked pink, but it is good.
Yeah.
So you have worked kind of in and out of the around the medical world, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, when did you start learning about programs like Above and Beyond Cancer, or how did you start getting connected to what we were doing?
Yeah. So, in the area I worked, we focused a lot on social determinants of health. And so knowing that there's oftentimes much more to health than just medical treatment, which is critically important. And thank goodness we have great medical treatment.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot more to it. So I was aware of that. And then, of course, I had heard about things Above and Beyond Cancer was doing. So when I got approached about joining the organization, I felt really blessed and honored to be asked. Because when I really think about it, Above and Beyond Cancer at its core approaches the cancer journey exactly like our family chose to approach it. It's with hope and focus on surviving and being very positive.
Mind, body, spirit. Yes,
it's the mind, body, spirit piece of it. And everything Above and Beyond Cancer does is about mind, body, and spirit. And that is so critical to surviving a cancer journey. And surviving means just living through it, living your best life through the cancer journey.
Right.
And no matter how it ends, you still want to have lived the best life you could have during it. It doesn't always end happy, but
right.
At least you can look back. I mean, I look back now to, my late husband's cancer journey and our cancer journey with him. And I'm so proud that our family and really started with my husband from the day one, like, we are not going to let this get us down no matter what. And knowing what the prognosis was, but it helped all of us to stay positive and to embrace each other and life. And it's the thing you never want to have happen. But at the end of the day, it's the harsh reminder of what's really important in life, and jobs and money and status and all of those things don't mean anything.
No. Yeah. But you guys you weren't taking part in Above and Beyond services.
Well, it was really new at that point. And there wasn't nearly as many programming.
It wouldn't have been.
So my husband did do a few things that kind of line up with it and stuff. It was really early then.
Yeah.
But he started, he bought a bike and was biking to work because we lived in West Des Moines and he worked in West Des Moines. So he bought a bike and started biking to work. And doing all kinds of exercise things and just kind of fit right in with Above and Beyond Cancer.
He was definitely like foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Yes.
What
we do.
Dr. Deming was one of his physicians, so maybe Dr. Deming inspired him
to ride a bike.
That might have been where the idea came from. Now that I think about it.
Well, I love that. We were some of the instructors of Above and Beyond Cancer. We were meeting last night, and we were talking about the importance of, it used to be back in the day, right? Don't just rest. Don't do any physical activity, and how that has so changed, and what a difference it can make in people's outcomes as they're going through cancer treatment, and then as you start building back. I
mean, it's really sadly, when you sit in a chemo suite, and you can sadly see the people who don't have hope,
Mm-hmm.
and the people that do, you can almost tell by sitting in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And that always kind of broke my heart.
Yeah.
Like seeing the people that really felt defeated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just encourage everybody to find ways to not
Mm-hmm.
feel defeated.
Mm-hmm. And so you were asked to be on a committee at first.
I started out on the finance committee.
The most exciting committee,
most exciting
committee that we have.
I was an accounting major in college. And I used to call myself a recovered accountant because I didn't really do accounting for a long time at the end of my career. But yes, I started on the finance committee, so I had to like remember all that accounting and stuff again.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's been great. And
what year did you start?
Oh gosh, I'm sure. I think it was in 20. I think it must have been 2020.
Okay.
It was during COVID.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So I was on the finance committee about a year, and then I was invited to join the full board, which I was thrilled to join. And it's been just, a wonderful experience to be part of Above and Beyond Cancer. I feel so passionate about the whole mission of the organization. So it brings me such joy to give back in that way.
As you think about being on the board, and then you're going to transition to our new board chair in January. So a 2-year appointment.
Yep.
What are some of the programs that you really love the most that we do?
Well, so it's hard to choose from because there are so many.
There are.
But for me, there's an obvious one because this summer I jumped out of a plane.
You did
as a fundraiser for Above and Beyond Cancer.
I watched you do it.
Yes. You were there.
I was there.
Yes. And
and I also jumped out of a plane earlier in the summer.
Exactly. Yes. So and it was a fundraiser for Above and Beyond Cancer. Most of my friends thought I had lost my mind, which I thought they were wrong, and they were wrong, but
they were.
It was it was such a exhilarating and thrilling experience. And if you learn nothing from going through cancer journeys, it's that you need to embrace life. And my husband was full of life, and really, we always say he lived life with gusto. And so it was great to have that opportunity to really do that through that experience, and to be able to provide additional funding to Above and Beyond Cancer so that more people can experience all the free programming that's available.
Right.
But, we have everything from climbing mountains to meditation and everything in between.
That's
and
right.
So it's really hard to choose like favorite programs because there's so much.
Now, would your husband have jumped out of an airplane?
I don't know.
Okay.
He might, for the right reason.
He might
have.
Okay.
Because we went ziplining once.
So
that was when he was on his cancer journey. We went ziplining, and he got up there in the
harness,
and was like, "What am I doing?" Okay, so I told you we did things with humor. I was kind of like, "Well, you have cancer anyway."
Well, yes. Okay.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Right. Well, and I kind of felt, I don't have cancer, but I did feel kind of similar, like that moment when you are all of a sudden going to get out of the plane.
Yeah.
You're up there. And then you're like,
terrifying moment.
And then I was like, I'm going to close my eyes. I think you did the same. Right. I think I gave you maybe that. I closed my eyes.
You might have given me
I just
the idea.
couldn't.
Yeah.
But when you're out, I was just like, well, here I am. There's only one way to get down now. Right. And I hope everything works out.
Honestly, I closed my eyes you don't really push yourself out. You get pushed out when you're tandem.
Yes,
so I get pushed out of the plane, and which is great because I'm not sure I could have done it on my own.
Yeah,
that was the moment of terrifying moment. But I closed my eyes, and as soon as I could tell we were out, I opened them, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" It was like, I think you even said this. It's like falling. It's not I mean, it's not like falling,
falling.
it's
It's like-
flying.
It's like flying.
It's not like you're
Mhm,
falling. There's no falling
floating.
sensation.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. Yeah. So
And-
that's my favorite thing in Above and Beyond Cancer events
What
or
I
activities.
loved that day is your support team that was on the ground.
Yeah.
So who all came to watch you
Oh
jump
my
out
gosh.
of the plane?
So my son drove up from Kansas City and left his 8.5-month pregnant wife.
Yes.
So he drove up and back the same day. My daughter and my 2 grandchildren came.
And they were so
yes,
cute.
They had so much fun.
They were so
They loved
cute.
it. Yeah. And then I had I don't know, 4, 5, 6 friends that also came, and they put out little tailgate food and made a little part of it, and had champagne.
You got
poured when I
some
landed.
flowers.
I got flowers from my grandchildren.
grandkids.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was quite fun.
It was pretty darn
fun,
cute.
yeah.
And they were really excited.
They were.
to watch.
Yes. Yeah. They thought that was pretty cool. My daughter was more terrified.
Yeah.
My grandchildren thought it was great.
Right.
And my son wanted to do it, but his wife said no.
That's right. He was initially
supposed
going to
to,
do
yeah.
it, but I can understand that with being
so
almost going to have your first child to
yeah.
not want him to be
Yes.
jumping out of a plane right
Yes.
at that moment.
Exactly. She was right.
Yeah. Did you? I think when you land, like it's so.
Oh,
It's like all that adrenaline's
I
running through
know,
your body.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever felt anything quite like
Oh no,
that.
there's nothing comparable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing comparable. But I'd do it again.
I was just
too.
going to ask that.
Yeah. I would do it again because now I know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to do it again.
Well,
because now I know.
Yeah. Connie
what
Weimer
probably-
who
yeah.
jumped twice last
she's
year
jumped 2
and
years in
this
a row.
year.
Yeah.
And she said this year she could really embrace what was happening.
Yeah. I
And
feel like
really
you would, yeah.
experience it instead of just kind of the shock of what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because everything's new the first time.
right,
you do it. Yeah,
right.
so,
I keep
yeah.
saying that I would do it again. I don't have to do it again. So, but it was it was
great.
quite fun.
Yeah.
And so I appreciated the experience, and I know I would not have done it without Above and Beyond. So
I don't think I would have either, because when I was much younger, I always wanted to do it, but never really did or had the
Mhm.
opportunity or whatever. And then as I got older, I got more nervous about doing it. But then when the opportunity came up, I was just like, Above and Beyond Cancer is all about pushing yourself to do things that you
Right.
weren't sure you could ever
Right.
do. So I thought, why not
join in.
Yep. Why not join in and push myself to do it?
So as you think about your new reign as chair of Above
Yeah.
and Beyond, what are you looking forward to, or what are you thinking about as we go into
Well,
the new year?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think my hope for Above and Beyond Cancer is that we can continue to grow the
Mhm.
organization
Mhm.
and can continue to serve more people. Because it's such a great opportunity when you're going through a cancer journey, whether it's you or your loved ones that are going through the journey, to really be in the environment and have the camaraderie in the community, and to really focus on your mind, body, and spirit
Mhm.
is just so key to that survivorship. And I hope we can take it to more and more people.
Mhm. Yeah. And we're going through strategic planning
Yes.
right now, which is a fun time
Yeah.
for the organization. And, I
Yep.
think, great days ahead, and continuing
Absolutely.
on everything that Dr. Deming and the team has grown
Yeah.
over these 13 years.
The growth from the beginning
Yeah.
to today is just phenomenal and amazing. And, we couldn't do any of this without our incredibly generous donors
Mhm.
that help fund it, because, as I mentioned, like, everything's free. The programming's all free for everybody. So, the only way we get to provide that is through the generosity
Right.
of others.
Right.
And we're so fortunate that we have very generous donors, and we're able to keep expanding and growing.
We
So,
are. And, we have a big event coming up.
We do
Celebrate on November 14th. And so, of course, we invite people to join us that evening, and we'll be
Yep.
highlighting the great things the organization has done. We'll be Chuck Offenberger is going to be our guest speaker, talk about his cancer journey as a survivor, a caregiver, and kind of now his new chapter in life. And he's recently gotten remarried, and what he and his partner are doing to embrace life. And and then our award winner this year is Deb Pulver with Strands of Strength. So we get to honor her as well. And so that will be great. And then, obviously celebrate Dr. Deming and everything that we do that makes a difference in people's lives every day.
For sure. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Celebrate is such a great event. I love coming to it every year, and it just gets better and better every year.
It does.
If you don't have a ticket, get one.
I know. Get it before. I mean, we think we're going to sell out. So if you wait too long,
that's right. Get it
you'll
now.
have to be on a waiting list.
Yeah.
What anything else that when you think about Above and Beyond, that kind of, that draws you in? Or
I just think it's so focused on creating positive community. And I just think as human beings, we're meant to be in community. And those can be different communities for different reasons. But when you're in or have been in the cancer journey season of life, that unfortunately way too many of us have or will be in, it's such a place that can help you really see the hope and positive attitude that really can help you get through it. And, there are so many things in life we can't control, and cancer is certainly one of those. And, having hope and staying positive, that's what we can control. And that can help the journey be so much better than it otherwise would be.
Agreed. Yeah. Well, you are such an inspiration.
Oh gosh.
I just love everything that you've done and how you've turned it into such a positive, in your lives. Obviously very heartbreaking and hard along the way, but
for sure
on the other side, and just how you turn that into joy. Now I know you have the grandkids, but what else brings you joy now?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Like I've really I made a decision to retire during COVID. COVID might have influenced that a little bit, but like many of us my age. But I worked a lot when I worked. I worked really hard. And I'm really in that stage of life where I enjoy being with my friends. I enjoy the family. I'm more active than I've ever been in my life. I'm so the stereotype. I play pickleball.
You are
at least twice a week.
Oh, every time we have a meeting, you're like, I just got back from pickleball.
I look terrible. Yeah. Yeah, I do. So I play regularly.
There's more injuries from pickleball than about anything else.
I know. But knock on wood, I haven't had
it yet.
Good. So
good.
Just going with that. Not me.
Exactly.
You also my friends and I have made a choice not to sacrifice our body for a point.
Oh,
so I think that helps.
That does.
I think it helps to keep that in mind. But I ride my bike, I walk, I do yoga, I do paddle boarding in the summer. So I stay just like I said, not working's awesome. I have so much time to.
Yeah, it's hard to get a meeting in with.
I know,
because you're so busy with all your activities.
And then I, do stuff for Above and Beyond Cancer.
You do, you do.
So
absolutely.
That gives me joy.
Well, that is so fun. It's just fun to work with, board members as a newer member of the team, right? I mean, we met right away when you guys interviewed me, and just to, form those relationships so quickly with some of the board members,
so
really
great.
Helps as, we just continue to reach more people,
Yes.
And find more donors, communicate what we're doing and sharing our story in a way that really makes that difference. And I agree with you. Like, I had no idea. Like, I knew of Above and Beyond Cancer. I knew of Dr. Deming and had met him several times, but I had no idea about the free programming. And then not to mention the hotel program.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the hotel program. We should talk about that.
We should, because the hotel program is really amazing.
It is awesome. so we as you know, and hopefully many others, the organization provides hotel stays for people who need to travel, a certain distance, and really can help because that can be expensive.
Really
And
expensive.
I mean, not only are you going through cancer and you sometimes have to take time off work, and so there's a lot of cost involved with
Right.
it. And so having that ability to get your stays paid for when that's a real barrier to getting care sometimes.
That's right.
So it's awesome that we can do that.
So anybody that lives 50 miles or
I
more,
thought it was 50,
from their cancer center anywhere in Iowa,
Yeah.
not just the Des
Not just-
Moines
right.
hospitals, but anywhere in
Anywhere,
Iowa,
yeah.
getting treatment.
Yeah.
And I know we were working with a family from Carroll today.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't from Carroll. They're getting treatment in Carroll.
Yeah.
And so, we really are, helping more
Yeah.
people across the state with
Yes.
that program.
Which is so awesome,
yes.
and just takes that burden and worry of how am I going to pay for
Yes.
staying there.
Yes. And,
off.
and some of those thank you cards we get that say, that are like, we wouldn't have gotten treatment had it not been for this program. And, it's really heartfelt. And our team member, Kelsey, that handles that program in particular, I mean, she really puts her heart in.
Oh gosh, she
is
does.
at tears,
I know.
She was sharing a story about someone who the husband's been going through treatment, and now the wife has just been diagnosed, and just
awful.
how we can help
Yeah.
and make a difference, because that's definitely a part of that mind, body, spirit, right? If
Right.
you don't feel that you have this safe place to lay your head at night,
Yep.
And you're away from your home, I mean, that
that's
huge,
a basic need.
It is.
So
Yes,
so
yes.
just the hotel program is just one of the greatest programs that we have to really
that's great.
help people get direct medical care as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So would you ever think about going on one of the journeys, which is another thing that we do?
Yes, the journeys are so awesome. So folks just got back from the Appalachian Trail this year, which I had wanted to go on, but my son and daughter-in-law decided to have a baby, and I couldn't bring myself to be on the Appalachian Trail with no cell phone right around the due date. So I did not go.
Yes.
So I was very sad to not go. So I'm hoping to do one soon.
Okay. But you're not going to do Patagonia.
And Patagonia,
it's in the way of Florida.
I already have a lease that I've paid for in Florida this winter, and it's right during that time. So I decided to not go to Patagonia and pay for a lease I wasn't using. So hopefully soon.
Okay.
Yes, hopefully soon. And we have to see what we're doing the next domestic one.
I haven't heard.
Well, that one.
Maybe you've heard some rumors, like we haven't really done the West Coast, but that's just a rumor that I have no idea really. That's just some of the rumors
I'll just say I haven't done a lot of the West Coast either.
Okay.
So, So I'm hoping to go on one soon.
Well, I always joke with Dr. Deming. I'm like, Hawaii's great. Or,
Hawaii's awesome.
A spa, journey is, a massage can hurt.
There are mountains in Hawaii that are tough to hike.
There are.
So
there are. No,
I'd be up for that.
No, we need to challenge ourselves more.
I know we need to suffer more.
I know. No, that's just funny. Anything else that you think about when you think about?
Just really encourage people to get online, look at the calendar, talk to the people on the team, find out what programs are there that meet your needs. Because and if you have an idea of one, tell us and recommend it, because we want to meet people where they're at and do things people want to do too. I just really, it's such an awesome organization and so much availability of different things to do and great people to be around. So
I know it is.
Check it out.
A lot of fun. I know. I've gone pole walking.
Yeah,
harder than you think.
Yeah.
I'm going to be observing some other classes here over the next month or so. But, as I think about all those different options, you go into a single week and there's about 20 different options most of the time.
So much.
And I think, like I said earlier, that was what surprised me the most.
Yeah.
Was just how much we offer for free.
Yes.
But also then what we can do to expand that to communities we're not serving now too. And I know that's something we're working on as well. And, how do we make sure that we're really serving everyone that really could
right.
use
And how do we, are we putting the programs in the places where people can get to and at the times people can get to? And so there's a lot of opportunity to really look at how we can expand and reach new people.
Yeah, I know. That's that's kind of the disappointing. I mean, that's the sad thing, right? People are always going to need us because there's going to be cancer for a long time.
Unfortunately, in Iowa, especially, there's no end to the need.
No, there is not. And so as we look at that and we look at our referrals and when someone comes to us and wants to join one of our programs, we just don't put them in a program, right? They go through an assessment. We make sure they have a sign off from their physician. There's a process to that.
Yeah.
Because we would never want to have someone.
You don't want somebody to do something that they shouldn't be doing.
Exactly. And there's definitely a lot lower impact things that we do.
For sure.
And then there's the ones that are more challenging.
More intense,
So, that's just all part of that.
Probably need to get a medical clearance if you want to go climb a mountain.
Yes. I think that, although I did hear that the Appalachian Trail was one of the hardest
I did hear that
we've ever done.
Yeah.
We think of like Everest or Kilimanjaro as being like,
that seems so much more daunting.
It does. And it is for other reasons.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that some of the actual climbing,
hiking part,
it was tough.
That's what I heard.
And so
maybe I should thank my son and daughter-in-law
for having a baby. Maybe. Yeah, no, but it's always the group came back and they're so tight. They just all got to know each other.
That's the thing. That's why I so much want to do the journey, because it's like, I mean, we have great community in Above and Beyond Cancer.
We do.
But the community of the people who go on the journeys is just amazing.
It's very special.
Yeah, it's very special.
Yeah, you kind of feel like a little bit of an outsider looking into the group.
It's awesome.
But it's that's why we're here to help build those relationships. We don't provide support groups in the sense of traditional support groups, but what we do provide is that community that is a support, that really becomes that support group for so many. And the journey is a big part of that. Dr. Deming, I see that maybe you have a question.
You guys are awesome. What a great job. What a great conversation, Alissa and Cheryl.
Well, thank you.
So, I do have a question. So, Cheryl, thanks for being a guest. And
Thank
I
you.
have to tell you that, thanks for sharing your story. Talking about Bruce's journey. I mean, it's so nice to remember him. I haven't thought about Bruce for a while, but as you tell the story, I'm reminded of, even in the midst of, as we're looking at scans and going through the options and this isn't working and going to that, there was always a positive frame of mind. We could honestly look at the bad news that were on the scans in front of us, but come up with, a window of hope to move forward.
Yep.
And you talking about how you found joy in that journey really affects me. One question I have that you didn't touch on, and that is the grieving process.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you are comfortable,
Sure.
maybe share a little bit about your personal grieving process, and also maybe about how love can still exist even though it's obviously changed.
Yeah.
And how did you experience grieving? What were some of the things that helped you the most have a grief journey that, led to maybe meaning, purpose, or made it doable?
Yeah, it was so when you know it's coming, I've thought about this a lot. Like, is it better to know it's coming or to have it happen suddenly? I mean, I only know one side of that. But even when you know it's coming and you don't know when it's going to come, it's still somehow shocking when it happens. It's still almost surreal. Like, you just can't.
Kind of out of
Yeah,
body.
it is a kind of out of body thing, and you can't really prepare yourself for that moment. I mean, you can prepare by having all your affairs in order and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we had all that stuff done, but the emotional part of it is still really like, oh wow, this actually happened. I remember the morning of the funeral, I was standing in my bathroom, like basically ready, and my son had come in to get something, and I was just standing there, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I'm a widow at 55." And it was like it had just hit me. Like that word had just hit me. Like, and I just couldn't believe it, and I just, that moment is still so fresh in my mind. And then, well, like I said, our family we kind of made humor out of some things. And unfortunately, my husband's father had passed away about 8 years. I think it was about 8 years prior to that. And his stepmother at the time had literally stopped living at that moment. She went to the cemetery every single day, and she just did nothing anymore. And then she passed a couple years after this, or a couple years before that, she had passed. And so we kind of had a theme with the kids and I, and we said, her name was Carol, and we said, we are not Carol. We are not going to let this stop us from having life. And we're going to find a way to move forward, not move on, not forget, but to move forward with life. My son, as I said, just graduated from college. He was planning to move to Dallas. He was like, no, I'll just stay here in Des Moines. And I'm like, no. Absolutely not. You're going to Dallas like you planned to do. And interestingly, of one of the things that came out of it, my daughter, who knew she wanted to be in nursing but didn't really have a path, got so inspired to work in the oncology world that she became an oncologist. She actually worked for one of the hospitals. She went and said, I want to transfer to the oncology floor as an aide while I finish nursing school. They literally created a job for her. She went there. She loves being an oncology nurse. It is her passion in life. And I don't think she would have ever found that passion.
I was going to ask you,
if my husband hadn't been sick. No, I don't think she would have ever gone there. And it is her passion. So good things can come out of bad things. And, we just really adopted that. We have to still live. We have to still find life and have a life. Because, even at 55, well, sort of old, I still have a few years left out of that, hopefully.
I mean, I'm 56. So
I know, right? Yeah. I hope there's a lot of more years. So now that's not to say it wasn't like really hard.
Sure.
And, I've had my share of pity party days and I allow myself the pity party day or the pity party minute or hour or whatever it needs to be. And then I go, okay, now we move on. And those days still come every now and then, when my son got married and my grandchildren have been born, it's joyous moments that are filled with sorrow because he's not there to see it. And, so we still have that almost 10 years later. There's those moments. But it's good to remember. It's good to keep in mind how precious life is and how important family is. And, we did that. So I went to one grief group. I don't know if it's not my thing or it was just the wrong group, but that group wasn't my thing. But I know people who have done that and it has been wonderful for them.
Life-changing for
So
them.
I would encourage people to try that for
Mhm.
sure.
Mhm.
I probably did the unhealthy thing for a few years in that I took a really challenging job
Mhm.
and really threw myself into work, which was good for me, but that's sort of my DNA. But I also think it delayed the full grieving process too, because I think once I stopped working, I still had to go through some grieving.
Mm.
So I think I just pushed it off a little bit.
Because not only were you working, you're also volunteering
Yeah,
on boards. I mean,
right. Yes, I was
really,
busy. Yeah.
really busy.
So busy for me
Mhm.
kept me sane, I
Mhm,
guess. But
mhm.
you know, and in the meanwhile, my kids are growing up and having their own families
Mhm.
and things. So you become less important as a parent during that time too. And
We're always important.
well, of course, we think we're always important. No, we are. But yeah, it's a hard thing, and you've got to have people around you that really support it. Like I said, I had close friends who also had lost spouses, and so we've been a great support to each other across the years. And you need to find that group that supports you and let yourself grieve. The only way to get past grief is to go through grief.
Mhm.
And you got to go through grief, and you get to the other side, and it's not that it'll never be there again, but it's less frequent, that it's really painful.
Thank you.
I think about, you being a caregiver, for your husband. Did you have a caregiver for when you had cancer?
Kind of. I mean, I had such a fortunately easy experience and journey. I mean, just so lucky to have that. But I did. My daughter lives locally, so she would check in on me. And my sister, who lives in Ohio, after I had surgery, because I had surgery, and then in the next 5 days, I had the radiation therapy. So she came and stayed with me, took me to radiation, and just kept me company at the house. Because one of the things that happens when you lose a spouse is sometimes your house can be really quiet.
Mhm.
And so it was really nice going through that, to have my sister there staying with me. And then my friends were really supportive. But I was so lucky to have such a brief treatment period. And so yeah, but you got to have people around you. I know people who never want to share that they have cancer, or
Mhm.
everybody has to do what's right for them.
Right.
I can't imagine having not shared it in my husband's journey or mine, because that support was so meaningful for both of us.
This is from a YouTube viewer. Mary says, great interview. Are there any books that can uplift and give a positive spirit for someone going through a not good diagnosis with her new cancer? She's trying to think positive. She's a reader, though, and suggestions for good, uplifting books would be very appreciated.
Oh gosh, I wish I could. I am a terrible person for remembering names and authors. There are definitely some really good things out there. I'm gonna guess Above and Beyond Cancer might have some. Jeff, we have some book
that
lists.
is a
do you
good.
know?
We do. I mean, we do. We have our book club, but it's not necessarily always
Yeah.
around cancer. But I'm sure we can figure out some resources and reach out.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm a big fan of poetry.
Yeah.
So there are books that are written that are sort of self-help books on grieving, and those can be very helpful. They're kind of, how do you get through grieving in a healthy way? Grieving
Right.
is a necessary thing, and you go from being just devastated and sad to finding meaning in the person's life.
Yeah.
And that can then help with the bittersweet. Over time, there's always bittersweet, but there's a lot more sweet, and the bitter doesn't last as long. I don't remember the names of the ones. I've got a couple on my shelves at at the office that I share with patients. Back to poetry. So I'm a big fan of Mary Oliver poetry, and a lot of her poems are about the interconnectedness of all of us in humanity and of nature. And so realizing that we are not alone in our suffering is helpful. So the poetry of Mary Oliver I would point to. And then there's a beautiful book by John O'Donohue called To Bless the Space Between Us. John O'Donohue was a Catholic priest, lived his entire life in Ireland. He died suddenly, unexpectedly at age 52. This book was put together posthumously. So he wrote these blessings, he called them, that are a combination of poetry and prayer. And there are blessings for the dying. There are blessings for those who are grieving. There are blessings for birthdays and for celebrations. And that book I would recommend to anyone. There are beautiful blessings that are a combination of poetry and prayer that can be helpful in whatever struggle one is going through. And so that is To Bless the Space Between Us by John O'Donohue.
Great, thank you.
Dr. Deming, the Above and Beyond Cancer put together a book as well with the Drake Press, and I have found I've been sent that when my brother was dealing with cancer as well, and more recently I sent it to a friend dealing with cancer in Arizona, and it's just got all these different, you see how different people deal with cancer, but also the wide range of cancer. It's been an inspiring book that I've gone through a couple of times. And I just recently, my friend in Arizona said that he's back in treatment and was reading it again. So, I mean, that's just inspiring book. I think helps maybe you realize lots of people dealing in different ways.
Fred, that's so kind of you because that's the book I wrote. That's why I didn't mention. So, yes.
So Dr. Deming's book.
It's a book called Above and Beyond Cancer by Dr. Richard Deming with photographs by Dylan Huey. But the book is not about the organization Above and Beyond Cancer, and it's 15 different chapters on the journey, philosophical journey through cancer, but each chapter also has snippets of reflection from cancer survivors and family members who have lost. So you get sort of this philosophical overview, but then you get this perspective from many, many different people who have gone through the cancer journey. And in recommending books, can you believe I forgot to recommend my own book? So thank you. Better coming from you, Fred.
And I'm sorry. I wish I could remember a couple I've read. I would say go to the local library. Librarians know every book in the library, I swear. And they might have some good recommendations, honestly.
And I think different books inspire and help different people, whether it's a self-help book compared to maybe a story, maybe our book Above and Beyond Cancer. And hopefully we can share some more with the person that asked that question. So we can get in touch with her. Well, I think we've about come to our time. I just want to thank you again, Cheryl, so much. This was a lovely conversation. I knew it would be. I know when I asked you, you were a little iffy, and I knew you would have a beautiful story to share. So thank you for sharing. I think it helps so many people. I also want to thank the Iowa Oncology Society. They help support the education series, and so we really appreciate their support, like so many of our donors. And next week, I promise Dr. Deming will be back. So that will be good too. But you can always watch our series anytime on our YouTube and on our Facebook and or on the Mercy One Cancer Center website as well. And we just appreciate everyone tuning in tonight, and have a great night.
Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks for having me.
Cheryl.